Hey guys, this morning we are trying to unload the chicken coop over there using the Massey Ferguson 204 forklift here. The problem is this lately has, when you start it up, it'll backfire a little bit when it first starts up. Then it smooths out, but then once you start putting load on it, like it'll be fine on a flat surface, but as you can see, like when I was coming downhill here, it's fine. And then I'm just starting to go up this little tiny incline. You can barely even tell it's there. And it starts backfiring really bad. It loses power and then starts backfiring really bad and then dies. And I've put new spark plugs in it. I looked at the distributor cap here, which looks pretty terrible because it's pretty sun faded, but the connections in there and everything, there's no corrosion. It looks really good. The rotor looks fine. And so I think it's probably the coil is getting weak. So we're going to change the coil today and see if that fixes our problem. So we're going to start by unhooking this wire and pulling the wire that goes to the rotor or the cap off right there. Honestly, that didn't feel very tight, but we're still going to replace this coil and see what happens. So you might check your connections on there too. Make sure that there's no corrosion and stuff, that you have good connections on your coil. Make sure you remember where these wires went to when you replace your coil. I'm going to set those up there together so that we know that they go together. Now we're going to take out this nut right here, and we should be able to remove our coil and take this bracket off. There we go, we have our coil and bracket out. Now we need to loosen this screw here. I do want to thank a previous owner who replaced the coil and didn't put this nut back on, so I didn't have to try to monkey around with getting in there to that nut there. Okay, we've got this coil loosened up from the bracket. But one thing I wanted to point out, you can see the positive and negative signs here. So take note of that. So when mine was mounted on the side of the tractor, the positive terminal was uppermost and the negative was lowermost. Alrighty, we got our new 12-volt coil here. There we go. Let's reattach our wires. All right. Now we will plug our coil back into the distributor here. Let's fire it up and see what happens. Still getting some backfire. That coil didn't fix the problem, so we're going to go with new distributor cap and rotor. I'm going to get a set of those. We're also going to replace the condenser and the point here, or both sets, the points, the stationary and the mobile one. So I'm going to head to Napa and get a set of those. We're going to see if that fixes the problem. If that does not fix the problem, we have eliminated all of the spark issues. I've messed around with the distributor timing here, rotating a little bit, getting it set just right. If that doesn't work, then I guess we're gonna have to take the gas tank out, take the valve cover off, and check the valve lash and see if we've got a valve that's not closing, or hopefully we don't have a burnt valve. I don't really want to deal with that right now. I was just headed up and we were about ready to head to town, and my neighbor who does cows, he's gonna give me a blind calf, and he said he's on his way. In the meantime, I'm just gonna take the gas tank off and check the valve lash, because it doesn't cost anything and it could be a serious problem if it's too tight. So to get this gas tank out so that we can remove the valve cover here, we need to remove this bolt, or this nut I should say, and all these spring components here, and the same on the other side. There's one, you can see it sticking down right there. And then we're going to remove the 2 bolts that are right in here and unhook the gas line, and we'll be able to lift the tank right out. What's that? Alrighty, here is our valve cover right here. It's just 2 bolts holding this thing on here.
Probably.
Yeah, it's kind of crusty.
It's old. You get used to friends.
Mm-hmm. Can be kind of scary making new friends sometimes. Shoot. Oh man, I found it. Awesome. Oh my goodness. Holy smokes. Oh, I'm scared to even show you guys this if you can't see it. Oh, you can't. Oh my goodness. Oh, look at that.
Cool.
No, it's really not.
I think it is.
Well, do you see all this rust?
Oh yeah, that's bad.
We definitely, oh my goodness, look at that. No wonder. Well, I guess that valve must be stuck. Obviously, we're not getting oil up here. Really wish I had my shop vac close by, but I don't have anything to power it. So I don't know how I'm gonna suck this rust out. Let's just roll this over and see what happens here. Obviously, we have everything unplugged here, so we're not actually gonna run, but so this valve is definitely stuck right there. This one's stuck too. This one's not moving either.
That's bad.
Yeah, let's see if we can roll them over.
Maybe move them.
Just a minute here.
It's kind of like a spring.
This is all kinds of bad news. If any of you guys were wondering what a blind calf looks like a normal calf. Just has a little bit of a milky eye. All right, so while the farmer was dropping the calf off, I showed him what I had going on here, and came up with using a magnet to pull this rust out. And also he said if you just spray a bunch of PB Blaster in here, it'll probably be fine. It'll work these 2 valves loose and let that soak in. But I was also thinking, obviously there's no oil coming up in here, so I'm not exactly sure how the oil is supposed to get up in here, if it's supposed to come up through here or what, but it made me think that we probably better pull the oil pan as well and see if the pickup is completely plugged up, because that would definitely be a problem, and also probable with all this rust. There's no rust here by the holes where the push rods are, and so there's probably a ton of rust down in here. Alright, we've got most of the stuff pulled out of here. Just kind of going around picking up any stuff that got missed. Doesn't look like new by any stretch, but it does look cleaner. What we're gonna do is spray a bunch of PB Blaster, WD-40, or whatever I can find up in the garage, and just hose this down and let it sit. And while it's sitting, pull the pan off and we'll check the pickup tube. All right, let's soak this with some PB Blaster.
I like blaster shit.
All right, just hit the whole thing really. Probably haven't been oiled in ages. I was thinking this out and I thought there's no point in dropping the pan if I can't get these valves unstuck. I got this rocker free because this rocker was kind of stuck. This valve started moving a little bit, so we're gonna see if we can get this one free. And if we can get this one unstuck, then we'll start working on this one. And if we can get these unstuck, then we'll see about taking the pan off and cleaning the pickup and everything in the pan. I got this valve to pop back up, which I thought was going to be the hard one, and this one has not popped back up at all. So what I'm going to do is pull a spark plug here, and then maybe I can kind of like pry up on it a little bit, but I want to check both this cylinder's valves and this cylinder's valves and make sure that the valves aren't burnt. Okay, that valve still looks pretty good to me with the borescope, but I think you can see right there it's still got a nice line on it from where it seats, so it should still be fine. As long as we can get it working free, it should be fine. Guys, we got it unstuck. Here's what I was doing, and I've been trying so much stuff I wasn't even recording anything anymore because I've been tapping and bumping, and I stuck a screwdriver in here and tried to pry the valve up really lightly, but you know, I didn't want to bend the valve because you're bending off center of the valve, and I didn't want to bend the valve or anything. And so this is what I came up with, because you want to pull straight up. You know, think about when you take two 5-gallon pails and you stick them together. If you pull off center, you cannot get those buckets to slide apart. But if you pull straight up, that's when you can pull things out a lot easier. So what I did is I stuck these vice grips on here and had the rocker arm pushing up on this part of the vice grip right here. Then I took this 1/4-inch drive socket. I stuck it over top of the other end of the rocker arm like this so that I wouldn't mess up this adjustment screw here or anything. And then I just went to tapping, and then all of a sudden, boom, popped right up. That actually worked pretty well. So now I'm just going to spray this with some more PB Blaster and roll it over, and I'll keep rolling it over and make sure that this doesn't stick, but I'll just keep rolling it over without the distributor cap plugged in, and keep lubing these up until I feel confident that it's not stuck anymore. Then I'm probably going to pour a bunch of diesel in the oil and run it, and then I'll drain that, and then I'll probably do it again, and I'll see how things go from there. All right, well, we're running, and now we have great power. We move easily with no backfiring. This is, we got a good running machine now. Easily going uphill, no problems at all. Looking good. All right, guys. Yeah, so moves and runs great now. The real question is, are we getting oil up in here now? I put diesel fuel mixed with that old oil, so I probably put about half to 2/3 of diesel fuel to the full line, or to fill it up, and then another third of just that old motor oil. So it should be really thin oil, so I don't want to do a lot of work with this or run it very long, but it is running substantially better. I mean, there's no comparison. Plenty of power, moves great, goes uphill fine. It was not doing that at all last time. Now that it's running well, I found that our idle needs some adjustment. So it needs to be pushing all the way down and then adjust it up a little bit, because as it is right now, when you start it up, it's idling extremely high. So something here, we need to adjust this rod here to make this rod push that way a little bit. So I'll probably do that right now off camera, but that fixes our backfire issue. Problem solved. We got a good running machine. I feel good now about dropping the oil pan and putting effort into the machine now that we know that it's running well. That's going to wrap up the video for today. That is how we solve backfiring through the carburetor and our loss of power. I hope you enjoyed this video. There's definitely some creative thinking in it and stuff. It was fun for me to do now that we have the problem fixed. Stuff like this is incredibly frustrating until you actually fix the problem. But once you get it fixed, it's really rewarding for me. So I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed figuring out the problem. If you did, smash that thumbs up button. Leave a comment down below for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for watching and have a good one.